Sanae Takaichi is a very welcome change in a very unstable world. She is somebody who's got a two-third thumping majority, and she's played on the brink and won it. She is trying to protect Japan, which is now coming under threat from China, from Russia. She is the person who openly said what needed to be said to China. The Chinese thought that they would get away with it. But now they'll have to think again, because right now she is the tallest leader of Japan. See, this is one of the best things that could have happened to Quad, because Japan was one weak link in the chain. India and Japan have been missing on strategic ties. And here the culprit is not India, the culprit is Japan.
Sanae Takaichi has won a thumping victory. A Japanese Prime Minister known for her hawkish security agenda, which she said she will, quote, work flat out to deliver, including the plans to build a military strong enough to deter Chinese threats to its islands, including those close to Taiwan, will have multiple implications across the region. Those who are familiar with the region's geopolitics know that the rise of a security hawk in Japan, with such massive popular support, will also have multiple implications in its relationship with China. Hello and welcome, I'm Abhishek Singh. If there's one interview you need to watch to find out what her coming to the office means for Japan, China, and India's relations with Japan, and of course Japan itself, stay tuned, as I'm going to pose all those questions and more to Shishir Gupta, Executive Editor, Hindustan Times. Namaskar, sir. So, sir, Japan has Takaichi as a Prime Minister. She has come to the Japanese Prime Minister's office with a thumping victory in the lower house. And this is going to have multiple repercussions across the region. She's known as a security hawk. So before we start talking about, multiple issues that I just talked about in my introduction, let's quickly just get your reaction on the significance of her victory, a female Japanese Prime Minister.
Japan essentially is a male-dominated society. She is the first female leader of the LDP party. She is the first female Prime Minister. And seriously, to me, she is the only one who wears pants in Japan. Sanae Takaichi, she knows how to play drums. She knows how to ride a motorcycle, a Kawasaki. She knows she's actually a youth icon despite being in her 60s. And she's a person who can talk straight, talk bluntly. The question is not whether she's a security hawk. The question is, she's a nationalist. She is trying to protect Japan, which is now coming under threat from China, from Russia, and she wants Japan to be put in the right place in the Committee of Nations. That's what she's all about. And for that, she is willing, she's increased the defense budget to 2% of the GDP, which is pretty huge for Japan, considering that there are many people in Japan who are still guilty about what their ancestors did in the World War II. There are some people who are made to feel guilty about various things by the Chinese also. But the fact remains is that Sanae Takaichi is a very welcome change in a very unstable world. Yeah. She is somebody who's got a two-third thumping majority, and she's played on the brink and won it.
Yeah, it's very clear. I mean, looking at the nature of her victory, how strong it has been and how clear it has been that, the self-confessed Margaret Thatcher fan that she is, that she's going to have the support that she needs to implement her agenda. And central to her agenda, of course, is to build the Japanese military. Of course, you were talking about, the 2% of the GDP being used to that end. So keeping that in mind, Japan, which has not played any role in the region militarily since the World War II, as you were mentioning, what are we going to see in the region?
See, you are not seeing a Japan which is going to sort of be proactive militarily. What you will see a Japan which is trying to protect itself because it has a running dispute with China over the Senkaku Islands. Senkaku Islands is just 100 miles north of Taiwan. So the point is, what she's been saying is that if there is any emergency in Taiwan, it naturally will have serious military ramifications for Japan. And that is as clear as the day. It's only that people in Japan who still believe in a pacifist constitution, there is Article 9, which talks about pacificity. And then you have had leaders who have come from Hiroshima. It's all very fine. You don't have to be a warmonger, but you have to protect your own nation. And that is what she's been saying. I mean, she's one person who openly said in the parliament what she felt about a Taiwan emergency and how it would impact Japan. She came under tremendous pressure, not only from within the party, but also from China, which actually asked its tourists not to go to China, not to go to Japan. But she didn't back down. She is the person who openly said what needed to be said to China, because, you know, an expansionist China definitely has very serious ramifications for Japan, for Taiwan, for Philippines, for Indonesia, and for the entire First Island chain. And that's a fact of the matter. So she is telling you bluntly what is happening. It's not that she's only focused on building Japan militarily. She's also looking at building Japan economically. You just see the Nikkei has gone up. You see the bonds have gone up. And you will see all this. So essentially what you are seeing is that public has actually put support in her. And now they want her to deliver because the previous ones had failed. Yeah. And she may say that people may believe that she is the Iron Lady of Japan, but she's actually a protege of Shinzo Abe, which really means a lot.
In fact, let me quote what she said in November, and of course this particular quote of hers created quite a bit of trouble in the region, especially the kind of response that it drew from China. So her quote is that if China were to use military force against Taiwan, such as through a naval blockade, it would likely constitute a survival-threatening situation for Japan, thereby obligating Tokyo to respond, unquote. So she said it as clearly as she could have, and of course the reaction that this drew from China was along the following lines, wherein the Chinese Consul General in Osaka said there was a call which was made to cut off that filthy neck, an apparent reference to Japan's leader. And although the post was later deleted, later on, you know, what you were talking about happened, and that was that the Chinese citizens were asked to stop visiting Japan altogether.
See, what she said is the absolute truth, because what is happening is that the American fleet commanders have been openly saying that there would be a Taiwan emergency in 2027. The chief of naval operations, the previous chief of naval operations of US, has also mentioned that. During a Quad dialogue of the commanders, which was held in Sydney, it was made very clear to them that, you know, this is what is happening. This was the 7th Fleet commander which said that. So everybody knows what it is all about, right? And what she's saying is the right thing, because what was happening was there were Chinese Russian exercises in the Sea of Japan. The Chinese were actually using, showcasing their aircraft carriers, the flying in that region. The Chinese have a running dispute over the Senkaku Islands. So it's as clear as day. I mean, if you don't understand what the problem, what is the concern, then you are being delusional about it. And she is being practical about it, and that's what she's been saying.
Right.
So I don't think so there was anything wrong in the statement. But then people put a lot of pressure on that. But what is important is that she didn't walk back on the statement. She didn't eat her words again. She stuck to her ground. She continued to do that. They installed new surface-to-air missiles in Okinawa to ensure that, that there is no adventurism on part of the PLA Navy or the PLA.
Yeah, and the Chinese response, of course, was really undiplomatic, calling for cutting off her neck. Of course, it was later deleted,
See, the point is the Chinese thought that they would get away with it. But now they'll have to think again, because right now, she is the tallest leader of Japan. And with the opposition virtually decimated, she getting 2/3 of the majority, she doesn't need anybody. It really shows true public support. So if she is going to deliver, she has to be delivering both on security as well as on economic front, and to bring in more stability in Japan.
All right. And talking about Quad, because Japan, of course, is also a Quad member along with India. What does her, coming to the Prime Minister's office with this kind of majority, means for Quad? Will we see Quad playing an increasingly significant role in the region? Because so far, Quad has been a grouping, but in terms of what it has done, there's not been much on that front.
See, this is one of the best things that could have happened to Quad, because Japan was one weak link in the chain. I mean, people say that India is the weak link in chain. No, India is not the weak link in chain, because Japan and Australia both are under the nuclear umbrella of America. They both have military alliance with America. India is the only one out of it. But India is somebody who is in total control of the Indian Ocean region. So if India actually is at the heart of the Indo-Pacific, with Sanae Takaichi coming over there, basically it means that you have one more strong leader who's standing up to freedom of navigation in South China Sea, which is one of the most important developments. Now, it is for the US, it is for President Donald Trump to stop, walking alone, as he has been showing that he wants to walk alone. He has to now look at the Quad, perhaps look at an early Quad summit in India. I am told that he is coming to China in the second week of April. I think it's about time that he landed in India somewhere in April too and did the Quad summit. Okay. And that is why it is very important, because what's happening is that Chinese Navy is growing. It's doing one ship, one warship every week. Okay? So, China has built an entire Indian Navy in the past 10 years. So, one has to look at those aspects before one starts to think about what is the threat to this Indo-Pacific. Right. Now, you had, before Sanae Takaichi, people, Philippines, people, Indonesia, everybody was actually walking the fence, was sitting on the fence, trying to say which way things are going. And then you had President Donald Trump, who actually, who actually started the foreign ministers' dialogue, but suddenly decided to do things on his own. Now, with Sanae Takaichi being back, the Quad definitely looks very strengthened, and it's about time that there was a Quad summit. And of course, the venue is going to be India.
Which brings me to my last question, and that is, of course, what does her prime ministership will mean for the India-Japan relationship? Because India-Japan have had a special relationship, especially under Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. There's been cooperation on the economic front. And there is a lot of, bonhomie that we have seen, especially between the two leaders as well, Prime Minister Modi and a former Japanese Prime Minister who's, of course, now dead, Shinzo Abe.
See, India and Japan have a very close relationship when it's come to economical ties, when it comes to economic cooperation, when it comes to, Quad. But India and Japan have been missing on strategic ties. And here, the culprit is not India, the culprit is Japan. Because it was for them to realize what they want to do. The next step, a next step which actually can bring this relationship to a different level, is a strategic ties. Japan makes lithium batteries which are used in submarines. Japan makes single mastheads for warships. Japan makes excellent destroyers. It has the technology, it has underwater drones, it has everything. It is this gap which was missing. If Sanae Takaichi under her leadership can bridge this gap, then it's all very fine. Otherwise, all we'll be doing is doing more Shinkansen in India. That's about all.
Right. On that note, thank you so much, sir, for taking all the time and talking to us. Thank you.